So my dissertation looks at early 19th century spectacular musical comedy, specifically in Vienna. It's a form called the Zauberstück. There are these little oddball fairy tale spectacles that, the way that I'm framing it now, essentially are places that you can identify anxieties and sort of the formation of an imperial identity as they cohere on the Viennese stage at the dawn of the Austrian Empire. It's a topic that I found largely through the help of faculty. They'd seen my work through the master's program, knew what my interests were, and knew that I wanted to find a topic that was not English language, that was pre-20th century.
When I applied to Tufts, I had a very specific vision in mind, as many of you who are applying may, of what I wanted to study. And while parts of that have still remained my interest and has been supported as an interest, I started taking Lawrence Senelick's iconography class, and in that class I found one image of a woman who was in an insane asylum in the 1850s in Britain and was dressed up as Ophelia from Shakespeare. And that inspired my dissertation, which is about intersections between medicine and insanity on the 19th century stage. And so it's just an example of how one moment in a class can really get you excited about something. And then Lawrence is my advisor and really has shepherded me through that process of learning more about it and shaping it into an actual dissertation length project, which is exciting.
My dissertation is on contemporary Iranian theater. I'm looking at it through the frame of directors and ways in which Iranian directors post-1997 have staged and adapted canonical Western plays. So like Shakespeare and Ibsen, Lorca, Brecht, Beckett, all of the people that one might consider the greats, or whatever that means. And I'm really looking at the ways in which ideas, subversive ideas, are communicated in censored cybercultures.
The topic is lesbian theater in America as performance, as politics in the 1970s. And it was a topic that I was really interested in, and I'm really, really grateful to have Lawrence as my advisor. He's been so helpful in just introducing me to people that he knows and his personal contacts that can help out with this, and just sitting down and brainstorming with me about where this paper is going to go and how to best structure it. And at the defense today, Noe and Kareem were incredibly helpful as well. And I feel like because of that conversation, I came out of it thinking much more broadly about how this paper is going to be structured and maybe some of the best ways to kind of attack and explore the ideas that I'm interested in breaking apart in my analysis.
My dissertation considers ways to adapt concepts from memory studies to help rethink the traditional form of a production history. I research productions of Tennessee Williams' Glass Menagerie, Streetcar Named Desire, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, looking for how cultural memory has inscribed certain interpretations of these texts, and how productions are consistently pushing against the boundaries of what you would consider to be a realist, nationalist, and misogynist interpretation of Williams.
My dissertation is a performance ethnography in which I study Turkish American women's creative labor. Most of the time, Islamic performances are limited to either drama, textual representations from whatever time period, or some sort of theatrical performances, including storytelling, rituals, but there's no extension of using performance practices within Islamic context.
So my dissertation is about the history of acrobatics in the Western circus, and I'm looking at ground acts, which mean acrobatic acts that are based off of the ground. Either the performers are standing on the ground or the apparatus is on the ground, as opposed to something that's rigged in the air. And I'm thinking specifically about the performance of gender in these acts in relation to cultural norms at the time. My work argues that acrobatic acts were always engaged in some way, whether explicitly or not, in pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable gender behavior. And I think my work more generally is interested in how we read performing bodies, how we read moving bodies, both in performance and in life. And I think the stakes of that in life
are particularly important, as we've seen and as we're seeing now. The way that we read bodies has real effects in how people are treated in everyday life and in how people have access to rights, how rights are legislated in everyday life.
My dissertation is an examination of the public performances of womanhood in antebellum Boston. So that's between the end of the Revolutionary War and the beginning of the Civil War. It's going to examine how the definition of womanhood in the public sphere changed and shifted and was sort of renegotiated as the changing role of women transformed through the beginnings of the new America.